Chapter 14 The Year of Victory. Muhammad's goal was to break the Treaty of Hudaybiyah so that he could invade Mecca. In June, he sent a squad of horsemen to attack a small sub-tribe of the Bakr. Since the Bakr were allies of the Quraysh, this was a clear breaking of the treaty. Yet the downhearted Quraysh never challenged Muhammad about this betrayal. He sent a large raid against the Ghatafan with orders to show no mercy, and he raided his new enemies, the Hawazin. A raid that he sent to the nomadic Christian tribes on the Syrian border failed because the nomads fought back. Soon afterwards, an allied tribe captured a Muslim messenger. When the man freely admitted to being a Muslim, they decided he was up to no good, and they killed him. Soon there were rumors that the northern tribes were mustering their war horses to invade Medina. The community was sick with dread. Muhammad lapsed into depression. He comforted himself by taking a new sex slave. Maria, a curly-haired beauty, was one of the slaves whom the governor of Egypt had sent him. Before long, Muhammad's enraged wives formed a furious united front and demanded that he give her up. He rashly promised not to sleep with Maria again. Then Gabriel told him that his promise was cancelled. The wives did not apologize, so for the next month, Muhammad refused to speak to any of them. He spent the whole time in an attic with only Maria for company. The Muslims dared not approach him, and he refused to see anyone. The crisis passed. Muhammad emerged from the attic and offered his wives a choice. Gabriel said that they could be divorced and go to hell, or they could obey him and go to heaven. All 9 of them chose to remain. To add to their humiliation, Maria was pregnant. She was the first woman since Khadija whom Muhammad had impregnated. As usual, the rumors of a plot against Medina were false. The northern tribes did not attack, so Muhammad declared jihad on them. He appointed his ex-son Zayd as commander over an army of 3,000. The northern tribes had allies in the Roman Empire and time to collect reinforcements. By the time Zayd's army reached Syria, he discovered that their foes numbered in the tens of thousands, and it was too late to avoid fighting. In the hopeless battle at Mecca, Zayd was soon speared to death. In his place, the Muslims elected the recent convert Khalid as their new commander. Of course, the new Muslims were defeated in the end, but Khalid managed to retreat quietly so that most of the army escaped alive. Muhammad recognized Khalid's skill in minimizing their losses and named him Allah's unsheathed sword. Muhammad, who had forbidden wailing at funerals, wept inconsolably over Zayd. Muhammad tried twice more to attack the northern tribes, but most of the nomads avoided his army. He also assassinated a Hawazin chief and yet again attacked the Ghatafan. Meanwhile, the awkward treaty of Hudaybiyah was destroyed. The Khuza'a tribe, allies of the Muslims, owed blood money to the Bakr, allies of the Quraysh. When a Bakr singer sang a song about Muhammad, a Khuza'a boy attacked him and injured his head, but the Khuza'a still refused to pay any compensation. The Bakr, assisted by a few Quraysh, launched a midnight revenge raid against them. 20 Khuza'a men were killed in the fight. The treaty was broken and Muhammad was no longer bound to keep peace with the Quraysh. Abu Sufyan pleaded with him to restore the treaty, but Muhammad refused. He ordered his men to prepare for war. He collected an army of 10,000 men. They came from multiple tribes. Those who had been wavering recognized that this was the point of no return and made their decision. The Sulaim and even a few Ghatafan came to support Muhammad. At twilight on the 11th of January, 630, they set up camp near Mecca, and the Quraysh still had no idea that they were on their way. Abu Sufyan, fearing the worst, was out in the dark as a lookout. The Muslims captured him and brought him to Muhammad's tent. He said that he no longer believed in any of the gods and that he doubted Muhammad was a prophet. But when Umar held a sword to his neck, Abu Sufyan spoke the words that made him a Muslim. In the morning, Abu Sufyan entered Mecca ahead of the army with a warning to surrender. Muhammad has arrived with an army that we cannot withstand. He says that whoever enters his house and lays down his weapons is protected. Muhammad divided his vast army into 4. He, Ali, Khalid, and Zubayr each invaded Mecca from one of its 4 entrances, leaving every exit blocked. A few desperate resistors tried to block the northeastern entry. Khalid's war horses met them there, charged the Meccans, and flattened them in a very short battle. Muhammad's horsemen entered from the northwest. They stampeded through the streets, killing whomever their swords met. Meanwhile, Abu Sufyan pushed his way through the scattering mob until he reached Muhammad and tendered Mecca's formal surrender. Muhammad instructed his warriors to stop fighting and to attack only those who resisted them. That did not leave anyone, for, as Abu Sufyan yelled at them not to commit suicide, the throngs all rushed to their homes and bolted themselves inside. They threw their weapons out of the windows for the Muslims to take. Muhammad, wearing a black turban, rode his camel through the deserted streets until they reached the Kaaba. Muhammad had won. He owned the great city of Mecca. Its residents were, by right of conquest, his slaves. He proclaimed, "Allah is greater." Then he circled the Kaaba 7 times. He stabbed at all 360 of the idols and toppled them one after the other like dominoes. Bilal called the people to midday prayers, and Muhammad stood at the temple door for his victory speech. "There is no God but Allah. He has granted victory to his army. O Quraysh, Allah has taken from you the arrogance of worshipping many gods. Nobody will be punished, for Allah is most merciful. O Quraysh, I set you free." He was too wise to make them even angrier by keeping them as slaves or stealing their property. It was more useful to him that they should pay him taxes and military service voluntarily. He had made the cost of disloyalty so high that key people like Abu Sufyan would have more incentive to adapt to the change of government and remain loyal to him. After leading the prayer, he ordered all the idols around the Kaaba to be collected. One by one they were ceremonially smashed and thrown onto a bonfire. Muhammad vowed that polytheists from other tribes would be permitted to worship at the Kaaba and that their safety during the pilgrimage month was guaranteed. However, anyone who wished to continue living in Mecca was required to convert to Islam. That afternoon, people lined up to testify their faith and swear first loyalty to him. Mr. Stupid's daughter muttered, "We will pray the Islamic prayers, but we will never love the man who killed our friends." The next day, Muhammad encountered his cousin Fakhita, who had been his first love long ago. Since her husband had fled to Mecca to avoid converting to Islam, Muhammad again asked Fakhita to marry him. She politely refused. He had to judge a theft case. A girl from Mr. Stupid's family, the wealthiest in Mecca, had been caught red-handed lifting a traveler's bag. Muhammad ruled that her hand must be cut off. The Muslims were horrified, but Muhammad repeated that Allah's command could not be violated. At evening prayers, the girl's right arm was laid on the block, and her hand was sliced off. She left with her stump dripping blood. Having secured Mecca, Muhammad's next task was to conquer the surrounding nomadic tribes for Islam. He sent out squads to the major temples with instructions to smash the idols and attack any non-Muslims. They destroyed the Hudayl idol of Su'a, the Mustalik idol of Manat, and the Daws idol of Dhul Kaffain. General Khalid smashed the idol of Al-Uzza and killed the keeper of her temple. Muhammad next sent squads to the nomads' camps to invite people to Islam. It was not a jihad. People were only to be killed if they failed to convert. Khalid overstepped his authority because he did kill nearly 30 men from the Jathima tribe despite their declaration of faith. This was a personal revenge, for the Jathima had decades ago murdered his uncle. Muhammad sent Ali to pay blood money, but of course there was no question of punishing a military commander as talented as Khalid. The Hawazin tribe were alarmed. Assuming that they were next in the firing line, they gathered their army, including their allies, the Thaqif tribe in Ta'if. Muhammad heard of it and marched out to meet them. The Hawazin ambushed the Muslims at Hunayn Valley. It was a fierce battle, but the Muslims overpowered the Hawazin and killed whomever they could. The victorious Muslims scooped up the civilian prisoners from the Hawazin camp: 6,000 women and children, 24,000 camels, 40,000 goats, and 800 pounds in silver. Muhammad sent them to a camp near Mecca for safekeeping, then marched on to punish the city of Ta'if. Ta'if was a walled city, so Khalid directed a siege against its walls. Its citizens rained down arrows like a cloud of locusts. Abu Sufyan lost an eye. Then Muhammad set up a catapult and fired double-pronged thorn branches all around the fortress. The men of Ta'if hurled scraps of blazing iron at the Muslims' battering ram, destroying it before it could be used. In the end, the walls of Ta'if proved too strong, and Muhammad had to call off the attack. Muhammad distracted his humiliated troops by dividing the Hawazin plunder. From his own 1/5 portion, he shared out camels by the 100 to bribe new converts like Abu Sufyan. He also distributed the slaves. 2 of the men had moral doubts. Since their captives' husbands were still alive, did raping them count as adultery? Gabriel sent them a reassuring prophecy. Forbidden to you are all married women, except those whom your right hands possess. The right hand possession was a female slave. The women were not enslaved for long, for the Hawazin men arrived to plead for their families. They had no money to buy them back, but Muhammad allowed them to take them home free on condition that they converted to Islam. Muhammad bribed Malik, the Hawazin army commander, with a gift of 100 camels. Malik declared Islam, and Muhammad appointed him governor over the conquered territory surrounding Ta'if. Before long, the neighboring nomadic tribes were also filtering in to swear first loyalty to Muhammad. He appointed a governor and 2 teachers over Mecca, for he had no thought of settling in Mecca as king. Although he had spent 20 years plotting to take over the Kaaba, he had lost the desire to live in its shadow. He had long since made his home among his most steadfast supporters in Medina.